Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time it is, wherever you are, it is right now. You are right here. My name is Manuel, and it is my pleasure to welcome you. Today is day 10 of the show, and I have to congratulate you for making the best decision of the day to spend some time with me. Let's get started. If you've been with me so far, you have noticed that I make a concerted effort at nuance. It's important to me to look at things from all angles. I don't want to be in a vacuum chamber, and I don't want to constantly give bad motives to those who I might disagree with. You've heard me talk a lot about the concept of two movies on one screen, where we might be looking at the same thing, especially in our heated environment, the same viral news story, for example, and you see it one way and I see it a different way. You're watching one movie, I'm watching a different movie, but it's the same screen. And this kind of nuance is extremely helpful, and I think it's very important for our national discourse. But there are times when one has to be unambiguously on one side or another, and this is one of those times. Today, we are confronting something that should be beyond the pale in American politics, something absolutely abhorrent. A candidate for public office has made their primary campaign promise to literally kill Donald Trump. Not metaphorically, not rhetorically, but literally making a vow to see him executed. This isn't hyperbole. This is what he said. This is what he has promised to do if elected. The unhinged lunatic in question is Ohio Democrat Elliot Forham, who is seeking his party's nomination for Attorney General. The man who wants to be the top law enforcement officer of the great state of Ohio has as his top priority killing the democratically elected president of the United States. Look, we haven't just crossed the line, we've obliterated it and taken off for Crazy Town. You see, Elliot Forham, he has decided that he is going to prosecute Donald Trump, get him convicted, and have him executed. Everything about this is wrong, period. American justice isn't about politicians promising to find crimes to prosecute their enemies for. As far as the state of Ohio versus Donald Trump, it doesn't exist. There are no charges, there's no grand jury, there's no evidence, there are no verdicts, nothing exists for would-be executioner Elliot Forham to make such an outrageous campaign promise as to kill the President of the United States. How the hell did we get here? They'll tell you it's Trump. But as they used to love to say, that would be victim blaming. What did Trump do? He lowered your taxes and hurt your feelings. That's not a capital crime. This isn't accidental. It's a strategy of dehumanizing language that pushes our public discourse towards extremes. Look, all of this stems from the normalization of labeling every single American political figure who isn't in lockstep with the left a Nazi. To them, if you've agreed with any of my podcasts so far, you're a Nazi, so you aren't safe either. That is not political communication, what they're doing. That's the weaponization of feelings. This is language designed to manipulate, not communicate. They want you terrified and angry. They want you in fear of the orange man and hating him for it. And what does fear, when it's hand in hand with anger, lead to? Violence, death. They call their opponents Nazis so they can justify themselves acting like Nazis. This didn't happen suddenly or overnight, though. This is simply an escalation of something we've already seen. The Attorney General of New York, Letitia James, ran on a literal promise to get Trump. For what? She didn't know yet, but she was going to get him. Back in the bad old days of the Soviet Union, the head of the KGB, Lavrentiy Beria, infamously said to Stalin, "Show me the man and I'll show you the crime." Stalinism hasn't taken root in the Democratic Party. Not quite yet. But man, they've been digging, and they're ready to plant those seeds and water them every single day. But where Letitia James crossed the line, as I said a moment ago, Elliot Forham has obliterated it, and now it's fully speed ahead to Crazy Town. And brother, that's a really bad neighborhood. As bad as what Letitia James did was, as tenuous a grasp as she had on anything remotely appearing as justice, This is a promise to execute the President of the United States. And we'll figure out the charges on the way to the gallows. That's what Elliot Forham is promising the people of the great state of Ohio. Need it even be said that today's Democrats are not the Democrats of JFK or even Bill Clinton? Hell, at this point, those two would be labeled fascists by men like Elliot Forham. Our parties no longer merely disagree about how to achieve shared national goals, such as prosperity and peace and defense and borders. They disagree on what those goals even are. And the goals that the left is espousing, they might as well be taking out George Orwell's dystopian novel 1984. But good old Elliot isn't alone. Every day, you see more and more Democrats promising the future arrest of the entire Trump administration. They speak gleefully of a second round of Nuremberg trials. Nuremberg! Most of those bastards ended up swinging from the end of a rope. So what are they really promising, if not also mass executions? That is what those code words mean. When they say Nuremberg, what they really mean is we're going to kill every one of our political opponents. Once again, it all comes down to them screaming, they're all Nazis. But you know what? Every day that they stir up their base with this kind of terror language, they make it more likely that the members of the Trump administration won't even live long enough to be arrested. And before some of you say, well, that kind of extreme rhetoric is just from far-left TV pundits and internet nobodies. No, it's not. It's becoming normalized among the political leadership of the Democratic Party. What's worse, the leadership of the Democratic Party? They definitely don't believe any of it. You think Chuck Schumer or even Nancy Pelosi actually believe every Republican is a Nazi and ICE is the Gestapo? Of course not. But they go along with it. Despicable. Let me take a breath here and just put it plainly in one sentence. A vow to execute a political opponent as part of your campaign for office doesn't protect freedom. It destroys it. Okay, that's enough for now. We'll continue tomorrow. And as always, be useful.